I used to think that skincare was only about the face. Every morning, I would carefully cleanse, moisturize, apply SPF, but somehow, my hands and my scalp, I barely paid attention. Until one day, I looked down and noticed how my hands, those same hands that held my children, typed my dreams into a keyboard, and made countless cups of tea, were starting to look tired, dry, aged. And as for my hair, it was thinning. Slowly, quietly, until one morning I noticed just how much had gathered on my brush. That was the moment I realized. Skincare isn't just about how we look. It's about how we care for ourselves, gently and fully. So I went back to nature. To the things my grandmother used to keep in her kitchen. Ginger, lemon, aloe, olive oil. Not expensive. Not trending. Just powerful. And what I discovered was life-changing. Not overnight miracles, but slow, steady transformations. My hands grew softer, my scalp healthier, and most of all, I felt connected. Present. If you've ever looked at your hands and thought, these don't feel like mine anymore, or if your hair has been crying out for help, today, we change that. In this video, I'm going to show you 2 natural recipes that changed how I care for my skin and hair. One for your hands. One for your hair. Both crafted with love, and completely from nature. And by the end, you'll not only learn something new. You might just feel a little more beautiful, inside and out. Let's begin. 1. Why your hands might be aging faster than your face, and what to do about it. Have you ever looked at your hands and thought, wait, when did they start looking like that? I have. It was a random Tuesday afternoon. I was standing by the kitchen window, letting the sunlight warm my fingers as I dried the dishes. And for a brief moment, I stopped. I noticed how the skin on the back of my hands looked thinner, duller, older than the rest of me. And I couldn't help but ask myself, why do our hands seem to age faster than our face? The answer, it turns out, is simple, but powerful. Our hands are exposed to everything: sun, wind, cold, chemicals from soap, hand sanitizer, cleaning products, yet we rarely give them the love and protection we give our face. Think about it, we reapply sunscreen to our face, but do we remember to protect our hands when we drive? We use anti-aging serums on our cheeks, but what about the hands that hold our coffee every morning? It's not just about appearance. The skin on our hands is thinner, with fewer oil glands. That means it loses moisture faster, making it more prone to dryness, cracking, and those fine lines we all dread. I remember my Aunt Mary, she's 72 now, with the most elegant presence. One day, she told me, "Your face shows who you are, but your hands, they tell your story." That stuck with me. Because it's true, our hands carry so many memories. They cook, comfort, create. They hold the people we love. They deserve care, not just function. So what can we do about it? First, we acknowledge this. Caring for our hands isn't vanity, it's tenderness. It's small, intentional rituals that say, I matter. And one of the simplest, most beautiful things I've discovered is how nature can help us restore what we've lost. In the next few minutes, I'll show you how one humble root, yes, ginger, can bring warmth, glow, and strength back into your hands. You might never look at your spice rack the same way again. Let's keep going. 2. Ginger for hands. The anti-aging secret you probably ignored. Not long ago, I visited a friend who owns a small herbal shop tucked away in an old corner of town. The kind of place that smells like dried orange peel, cinnamon, and stories from another time. We were talking about dry hands and winter skin when she handed me a small jar. Inside was a golden, spicy-scented paste. I raised an eyebrow. She smiled and said, "Ginger. Freshly grated. It's been in my family for generations." I'll admit, I was skeptical. I always thought of ginger as something that went in tea or stir-fry, not something I'd rub on my hands. But that night, after a long day, I tried it. I mixed a bit of grated ginger with honey and olive oil, then gently massaged it into my hands. There was this warm, tingling feeling, almost like my skin was waking up. The next morning, my hands looked brighter, softer, and somehow, calmer. So I started reading. And I found out that ginger isn't just food, it's medicine. It contains something called gingerol, a powerful antioxidant. Antioxidants are like the body's cleanup crew. They fight off free radicals, those tiny, invisible troublemakers that cause skin to age faster. Ginger also boosts blood circulation, which means more oxygen and nutrients get to your skin. That's how you get that healthy, natural glow. And there's more. Ginger is anti-inflammatory and antibacterial. It soothes irritation, calms redness, and protects your skin from minor infections. In fact, in many parts of Asia, women use ginger in their beauty routines long before beauty brands ever caught on. It made me think of how often we look for solutions in shiny packaging, when some of the most powerful ones have been in our kitchens all along. Now, a quick note: if you have sensitive skin, ginger can be strong. Always do a small patch test before applying it fully. Everyone's skin speaks a different language. So what's the lesson here? Sometimes, nature gives us exactly what we need. Not in fancy bottles, not behind locked glass at the store, but in the humble roots sitting in your fridge. Ginger reminded me that beauty isn't about trends. It's about warmth, circulation, life. And the best part? Ginger is just the beginning. Because next, we're going to explore something gentle, cool, and deeply healing. It's a plant you've probably used on sunburns. But its true powers go far beyond that. Let's talk about aloe vera. 3. Aloe vera, nature's gel that transforms rough hands. When I was a child, my mother kept an aloe vera plant on the kitchen windowsill. It was nothing fancy, just a short, spiky green plant sitting quietly in a terracotta pot. But every time I scraped my knee or spent too long in the sun, she'd cut off a leaf, peel it open, and gently press the cool, clear gel onto my skin. Back then, I didn't understand why. It just felt soothing, like nature was whispering, "It's okay. I've got you." Years later, after a long winter that left my hands cracked and dry, I remembered that plant. I bought a fresh aloe vera leaf from the local market. It felt nostalgic just holding it. That evening, I sliced it open and spread the gel over my hands. Almost instantly, there was relief. Cool, calming, hydrating relief. And that's when I started looking deeper into what aloe vera truly is. It turns out, aloe vera is made up of over 75 active compounds, vitamins, minerals, enzymes, amino acids, all packed into that simple, translucent gel. It's 99% water, but that remaining 1%? That's where the magic lives. Two of its most powerful components are auxin and gibberellin. These help reduce inflammation and stimulate the growth of new skin cells. That's why aloe vera works wonders on dry, irritated, or damaged skin. It's also a humectant, which means it pulls moisture from the air and brings it into your skin. For anyone who washes their hands often, especially during colder months, this makes a world of difference. No more rough, tight skin. Just softness. Balance. There's even more. Aloe helps fade dark spots over time, gently even skin tone, and soothe sunburns. That's why many call it the healing plant. And they're not wrong. I read that Cleopatra herself used aloe in her beauty routine. And while I may not have her palace or her pearls, I like to think that, in that moment, massaging aloe into my skin, I shared something timeless with her. So here's what aloe taught me. Healing doesn't have to be complicated. Sometimes, it's as simple as a green leaf, sliced open with care. Sometimes, it's about returning to the things that always worked, even before we had a name for them. And speaking of things we often overlook, there's one ingredient many of us toss in the trash without a second thought. But inside it lies a bright, citrus-scented secret to glowing, youthful hands. Let's talk about lemon peel. 4. The lemon peel trick, from trash to treasure in skincare. For the longest time, I did what most people do with lemons. I squeezed the juice, maybe added it to tea or salad dressing, and tossed the peel straight into the bin. It never occurred to me that I was throwing away one of the most powerful ingredients for glowing, even-toned skin. That changed one afternoon when I was watching my neighbor, an elderly woman from the Mediterranean who always seemed to have the softest, most radiant hands I'd ever seen. She was zesting lemon peels and placing them in a jar of oil by the window. Curious, I asked what she was doing. She smiled and said, "My mother taught me, never waste the peel. That's where the beauty is." I later learned how right she was. Lemon peels are packed with vitamin C and antioxidants. In fact, the peel contains more nutrients than the juice itself. It's rich in flavonoids, limonene, calcium, potassium, and essential oils that nourish the skin, brighten dull areas, and gently fade dark spots over time. But that's not all. Lemon peel has natural acids, like citric and alpha-hydroxy acids, AHAs, that help exfoliate the skin, removing dead cells and encouraging new ones to come to the surface. It's like giving your hands a soft reset, naturally. I tried it for myself. I took the peel of one organic lemon, cleaned it with a bit of baking soda to remove any residue, and finely chopped it. Then I mixed it with a touch of olive oil and a pinch of sugar to create a gentle hand scrub. As I massaged the mixture in, the citrusy scent lifted my mood. And after rinsing, I noticed something I hadn't seen in a while. My hands looked brighter, smoother, almost like they'd been kissed by sunshine. Of course, like all things citrus, it's important to be careful. Avoid sun exposure right after applying, and always patch test, especially if you have sensitive skin. So what's the lesson here? Sometimes, the things we treat as waste still have something beautiful to offer. Lemon peels reminded me that nothing is ever truly useless, not in nature, and not in life. It's just a matter of seeing the value where others don't. And speaking of value, there's one ingredient that ties all these together. It nourishes. It heals. It protects. And for centuries, it's been called liquid gold. Let's talk about olive oil. 5. Olive oil, why the Mediterranean secret is called liquid gold. When I traveled to southern Italy a few years ago, I stayed in a small stone house on a hillside, surrounded by olive trees that had been there for generations. Every morning, the grandmother of the family I stayed with would pour a bit of olive oil into her palms, rub them together, and then smooth it onto her face and hands. She had deep smile lines and skin that glowed like it had been kissed by sunlight. She called it oro liquido, liquid gold. At the time, I thought it was just a charming old habit. But now I understand. Olive oil wasn't just something she used in her cooking. It was part of her skincare ritual. A ritual passed down through generations, long before beauty aisles were filled with products we can barely pronounce. What makes olive oil so special? First, it's packed with vitamins A, D, E, and K. These nourish the skin deeply, helping with hydration, healing, and even evening out tone. But what really makes olive oil shine is its antioxidant content, especially polyphenol and squalene. These antioxidants fight off free radicals, the unstable molecules that speed up skin aging. Squalene, in particular, mimics the skin's natural oils, making it incredibly soothing for dry, tired hands. Then there's oleic acid, a fatty acid that helps restore the skin's barrier. That means it locks in moisture and keeps irritants out, exactly what your hands need after long days of washing, cleaning, and exposure to the elements. I started using a few drops of extra virgin olive oil every night before bed, massaging it into my hands while listening to music or a soft podcast. It became a moment of calm, of care. And over time, I noticed my hands felt stronger. The cracks healed faster. The skin looked plumper, more alive. What I love most about olive oil is its simplicity. No chemicals. No perfumes. Just nature, in its purest form. So what's the lesson here? Not everything nourishing comes from a lab. Sometimes, it grows from the earth, is pressed by hand, and carries with it a story older than any of us. Olive oil taught me that skincare doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be consistent. Intentional. Rooted in care. And now that we've explored these beautiful ingredients, ginger, aloe vera, lemon peel, and olive oil, let's bring them together. Because in the next part, I'll show you exactly how I combine them into a warm, nourishing oil blend for your hands. It's simple. It's soothing. And once you try it, it just might become your favorite ritual. 6. The 15-minute DIY hand oil you'll want to bottle and gift. There's something deeply comforting about making something with your own hands, especially when it's meant to care for them in return. One chilly Sunday afternoon, with soft music playing in the background and the smell of lemon and ginger filling the kitchen, I decided to bring everything we've talked about into one small, magical jar. Something simple. Something healing. Something I could use at the end of a long day, or give to a friend who needed a little softness in theirs. I call it my 15-minute hand oil, but to me, it feels more like a warm hug in a bottle. Here's how I make it. I start by gently washing a lemon and scrubbing the peel with a little baking soda to remove any surface residue. Then I peel it and cut the peel into small pieces, about the size of your fingernail. Next, I grate a small piece of fresh ginger, just enough to fill a tablespoon. Then, I scoop a few spoonfuls of fresh aloe vera gel. If you're using a leaf, just slice it open and scrape out the clear gel. If not, a store-bought gel works too, as long as it's pure. I place the lemon peel, ginger, and aloe in a small pan and pour in about 200 milliliters of extra virgin olive oil, just enough to cover the ingredients. Then I turn the heat on low. For the next 15 minutes, I let the oil warm gently, not boil, just a quiet simmer. This warmth helps the oil draw out the powerful compounds in the ginger, the citrus oils from the peel, and the healing essence of the aloe. And as it warms, the scent slowly fills the room, fresh, slightly spicy, calming. Once done, I strain the oil through a fine sieve or a clean cloth and pour it into a glass jar. Sometimes I tie a little twine around the lid and add a handwritten label, especially if I'm gifting it. When I use it, I pour a small amount into my palms and massage it into my hands, slowly, intentionally. I let it sit for 15 to 20 minutes, sometimes while reading, sometimes while sipping tea, and then rinse off with warm water and a gentle soap. Each time I do, my hands feel softer, calmer, and somehow more loved. And here's the truth. It's not just what's in the oil that makes it special. It's the ritual. The pause. The way it makes you stop and care. That's what I often remind myself. We rush through so much, through our days, our routines, even our self-care. But this small moment, this handmade blend, brings me back to myself. So if your hands are in need of some care, or if someone in your life could use a bit of comfort, try this. Make a jar. Share a jar. It's more than skincare. It's connection. And now that we've cared for our hands, let's turn our attention to something else that often needs just as much love, our hair. Because in the next part, we're going to uncover the ancient, aromatic herb that's quietly becoming a modern favorite in hair care, rosemary. 7. Hair growth struggles. Here's why rosemary is your scalp's new best friend. Have you ever stood in front of the mirror, brushing your hair, only to notice a bit more falling out than usual? Maybe you've been feeling the stress of trying new products that promise thick, shiny hair, but they just don't seem to deliver. I've been there. A few years ago, I started noticing my hair thinning, just slightly at first. It was the kind of thing that was easy to ignore, until one morning when I saw it on my pillow. I was frustrated, searching for something that could help without turning to chemical-filled serums or harsh treatments. Then one day, a friend, who'd always had thick, beautiful hair, told me about rosemary. She swore by it for hair growth. Rosemary, she said, is your scalp's best friend. It's nature's little miracle. I was curious. After all, rosemary had always been one of my favorite herbs for cooking, but I had never thought of it as a beauty secret. So, I began researching. What I learned was incredible. Rosemary is packed with essential oils that promote blood circulation to the scalp. By boosting circulation, rosemary helps to deliver more oxygen and nutrients to your hair follicles, and that's exactly what they need to grow stronger, thicker hair. But that's not all. Rosemary also has anti-inflammatory properties that soothe the scalp, reducing dandruff and itchiness. Its rich, herbal aroma has a calming effect, too, which can be a beautiful way to unwind while nourishing your scalp. I decided to try it for myself. I mixed a few drops of rosemary essential oil with some olive oil, which I had learned was rich in antioxidants and great for nourishing the scalp. After gently massaging it into my scalp, I left it on for about 30 minutes before washing it out. I was amazed by how it felt, refreshing and soothing. The best part? My scalp felt cleaner, like it had been given a breath of fresh air. I kept using it, and over time, I noticed that my hair felt fuller, shinier, and healthier. Rosemary wasn't just a quick fix. It became part of a ritual, a way to give my hair the care it truly needed. So what's the lesson here? Sometimes, we forget that the best solutions for our struggles are often sitting right in front of us, in our gardens, kitchens, or natural surroundings. We think we need expensive treatments or quick fixes. But sometimes, the simplest things, like rosemary, hold the key to what we're searching for. And now that we've uncovered this amazing herb, let's take things a step further. Because rosemary is just the beginning. In the next section, I'll introduce a powerful combination of ingredients that will take your hair care to the next level: bay leaves and cloves. Let's dive into how these humble spices can transform your scalp and hair health. 8. The Power Combo: Bay Leaves plus Cloves for Hair Regeneration. When I was younger, my grandmother used to keep a bundle of dried bay leaves tied with string in her pantry. They weren't just for cooking, she'd tell me, they were for everything. A bath. A cold. Even her scalp. At the time, I didn't quite understand. I thought bay leaves were just a fragrant addition to soup. But now, years later, I've come to appreciate how right she was, especially when I paired bay leaves with another kitchen classic, cloves. On their own, each is powerful. But together, they create one of the most effective combinations I've ever used to nourish my scalp and encourage stronger, fuller hair. Let's start with bay leaves. They're rich in vitamins A, C, and folic acid, nutrients that play a key role in keeping hair follicles healthy and resilient. Bay leaves also contain compounds like eugenol and lauric acid, which have natural antimicrobial properties. That means they help keep your scalp clean, reduce dandruff, and create the right environment for hair to grow. When I started adding bay leaf-infused oil to my routine, I noticed my scalp felt calmer. It wasn't itchy anymore, and my hair seemed to stay fresher between washes. It felt like my scalp had found its rhythm again. Then there's cloves, tiny, fragrant, often overlooked. But these small buds are packed with goodness. They contain vitamins K and C, omega-3 fatty acids, and one incredibly powerful compound, eugenol. Eugenol stimulates blood circulation, just like rosemary, helping deliver nutrients straight to the hair roots. And because it's anti-inflammatory and antibacterial, cloves are amazing for soothing an irritated scalp and preventing buildup that can block healthy growth. One of my favorite ways to use them is to gently crush a few cloves and simmer them with bay leaves and olive oil for about 15 minutes. The aroma alone is worth it, warm, spicy, and grounding. When I massage that blend into my scalp, it's not just hair care, it's a moment of peace. A reminder that taking care of ourselves can be simple, nourishing, and even a little bit sacred. And here's the thing, you don't need 100 different products to transform your hair. Sometimes, all you need is a few spices, some intention, and the willingness to listen to your body's needs. So what's the lesson? Beauty rituals don't have to come from bottles lined on store shelves. They can come from your spice rack. From tradition. From the quiet wisdom of ingredients that have stood the test of time. Now that you know how powerful this blend can be, let's put it all together. In the next part, I'll show you exactly how to make this herbal-infused hair oil, step by step. It's easy, it's soothing, and it just might become your new favorite Sunday ritual. 9. How to use these oils for maximum results, without ruining your scalp or sink. I remember the first time I tried applying homemade oil to my scalp. I was a little too generous. The oil dripped down my neck, into my ears, and by the time I stepped into the shower, I had made a slippery mess that even my shampoo couldn't handle. My scalp still felt greasy afterward, and the whole experience left me wondering. Am I doing this right? Turns out, it wasn't the oil, it was how I used it. So if you're trying these natural blends for the first time, let me walk you through a gentle, effective way to use them, without overdoing it or clogging your drains. Start with clean, dry hair. You don't need to wash it first, but avoid adding oil on top of hair that's already heavy with product buildup. That way, your scalp can absorb the nutrients more easily. Warm the oil slightly, just enough so it feels comfortable to the touch. You can place your jar in a bowl of hot water for a few minutes. This helps open up the hair follicles and makes the massage more soothing. Then, part your hair in sections, and using your fingertips, not your nails, gently massage the oil into your scalp in slow, circular motions. This isn't just about applying oil, it's about stimulating blood flow, releasing tension, and giving yourself a moment of stillness. Use only a few tablespoons, enough to coat your scalp and roots, not soak your entire head. Trust me, your scalp needs nutrients, not an oil bath. Once applied, leave it on for 30 minutes to an hour. You can wrap your hair in a warm towel to help the oil penetrate more deeply. Some people like to leave it overnight, and that's okay too, just use a towel over your pillow. When it's time to wash, apply shampoo before wetting your hair. It sounds odd, but this helps break down the oil more effectively. Then add water and lather. You might need to shampoo twice, but your scalp will thank you. The results aren't always instant. But over time, with consistent use, maybe once or twice a week, you'll notice a difference. Stronger roots. Less breakage. Softer, shinier strands. And perhaps even a little more confidence when you look in the mirror. What I learned is this. Caring for your hair isn't just about products, it's about patience. It's about creating a rhythm of care, of listening and adjusting as you go. And most of all, it's about making space in your life for simple, healing rituals. Now that you've learned how to use these oils with care and intention, let's take a moment to reflect. In the final part of this journey, I want to share a few closing thoughts, why natural care matters, what it's taught me, and how you can carry this energy forward into your own life, one gentle ritual at a time. 10. Natural beauty isn't a myth, but it needs commitment. A few months ago, a friend of mine looked at my hands and said, "Wow, they look so soft. What are you using?" I smiled, not because I had discovered a secret product, but because I knew it wasn't a product at all. It was the routine. The little moments. The way I had started to show up for myself in small, consistent ways. Because here's the truth, natural beauty isn't a myth. But it isn't effortless either. It asks for your time. Your patience. and your belief that you deserve to be cared for. We live in a world that often promises quick fixes. Overnight miracles. 10 years younger in 7 days. But what I've learned, through ginger, aloe, lemon peel, rosemary, and oil-slicked fingers, is that real beauty unfolds slowly. It's in the rhythm of weekly rituals. In the way your hands begin to soften after the 3rd week. In the way your scalp starts to feel nourished, not just clean. In the quiet joy of making something by hand, knowing exactly what's inside, and trusting nature to do its part. And no, you don't have to be perfect. You'll miss a day. You'll forget a step. But the commitment is what carries you forward. The intention is what transforms something simple into something sacred. So whether you're making your first batch of hand oil, massaging rosemary into your scalp, or simply choosing to slow down and breathe, know this. You're already doing something beautiful. And if you've made it this far with me, I want to thank you. This wasn't just a tutorial, it was a shared moment. A reminder that beauty isn't found in a bottle, it's built in your daily choices. If you try any of these recipes, I'd love to hear how they worked for you. Leave a comment below, or even just a little herb to let me know you're here. And if you found something helpful, something soothing, something true, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more gentle rituals, and share it with someone you think could use a little extra care today. Until next time, take care of yourself, because you're worth the time, the love, and the glow that comes from within.